Hey everyone, I'm Don Stewart, the artist at ArtistChronicle.com.
Today I'm coming to you from the Green Hills Center for North Carolina Art and talking to Kate Kretz, who works with a lot of mediums like oil glazes, encaustic, pencil. She's sharing her inspiration and talking about technique too.
To me, this is the ultimate taboo in terms of human vulnerability, men crying. When I think of people crying, I think about the poetry of how when you've been crying and your eyes are swollen, your insides are visible through your outsides, and I think that's incredibly poetic. And so when you look up close at these crying men and their eyelids, you see the veins and arteries that are coming through the swollen flesh. And it's also a challenge as a painter to try and convey that feeling. I love this blue. It reminds me of the blue behind the Virgin Marys in Europe when you go to the churches. And then all of this is oil glazes. This one is oil glazes, but it's oil glazes on black gesso. So you're working light over the dark. Then this final one is encaustic, which is wax. It's one of those media that has the transparency of oil, but it dries like that, and so it's great for me because I can make a painting that still has a lot of layers to it, but that I can do in 3 or 4 weeks instead of 5 months. These are also encaustic works. There's a hole cut in the top layer here,
Right, okay.
but then I paint over it and I build up the surface, and so it actually looks like 3-dimensional lips. And then there's another layer of wood underneath that has the actual landscape. I've done a lot of open mouths, both self-portraits and these, and they're about revealing things that we normally keep concealed. So that's when I say my work is about human vulnerability. These open mouths are revealing the things that we kind of carry around with us in our lives that we don't show to people normally. This piece is part of a whole series of self-portraits where my mouth is open and I'm revealing some different aspect of myself. And in every one of my pieces, there's the content, but then I always try to challenge myself formally. And in this case, I took a piece of tracing paper and I drew on both the front and the back of it, and so all of the face is drawn on the front, but then this lone tree in the background is drawn on the back of the paper, and a lot of the hair is also drawn on the back of the paper, so there's depth. And then I coated the whole thing in acrylic to give it this kind of onion skin, fragile appearance. And there's a part that's tied into the paper with my own hair. It's called Hermaphroditic Romanticism because I was a single woman totally focused on my career for many, many years of my life. And it was about sort of making your life magical and romantic even though you're on your own. This is Fate of a Technicolor Romantic. It's about that war between romanticism and reality. And I was brought up in a home where we read a lot and we watched a lot of Technicolor films, and yet there was a lot of dysfunctionality, and so this self-portrait contains both sides. It contains the reality and it contains the idealism. It took me a year to paint, and it's all oil glazes in a Renaissance technique, so in the darkest areas there may be 30, 35 glazes of transparent oil. And that's what makes it glow, because the light goes through the transparent glazes, hits the white of the gesso, and bounces right back. As important as every bit